she used the children, the two boys, a hell of a lot. Prince Charles only ever used the boys once to have publicity picture done. I kept getting emails from these people saying, "You're a fraud, you're a cheat, you photoshopped her into the picture." She looked down at me and she said, "You are one horrible little man."
Hello, I'm Matt Wilkinson and welcome to our show, Royal Exclusive. With me today is royal photographer Jim Bennett. Welcome, Jim. Now look, Jim, I called you royal photographer, but it's fair to say that you are a kind of old school paparazzi photographer, taking pictures of the royal family for about 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
We are actually nearly the second year anniversary of the late Queen's death. What was it like taking pictures of the late Queen?
Well, the Queen was fantastic. And obviously, as far as I'm concerned, she was top of the tree. She was the most perfect person to photograph.
There's loads and loads of wonderful pictures that you've taken of the Queen over the years. Did she ever, come and speak to you or anything like that?
No, yes. Many years ago, back in the 80s, the Queen was trying to teach Diana how to ride, along with some grooms. They were at Sandringham, and the Queen had taken her out, and for some unknown reason, she decided to take her on the main road across towards Amner Hall, which is where William and Kate now live. It was originally owned, rented by, I think, Van Cutsham's. But she was coming down that road, and they were riding along together. They saw us, and I expected them to sort of veer off. But obviously, Diana was very unstable on the horse. She was gripping for, "God, please, let me get on with it and let me get off the horse." And the Queen and her come riding towards us. And as the Queen got close to us, I was looking for somewhere to actually move back to, so sort of get out of the Queen's way. But they kept on coming, and we did the pictures. And literally, as they got level with us, she looked down at me and she said, "You are one horrible little man." And at that very moment, I felt, I wish there was a big hole I could disappear into, because just by her saying it and looking at you, there was something about her. She had an aura about her.
Well, she was one of the most photographed women in the world, wasn't she?
Yes.
When she was around. Did you ever have the chance, maybe after that? Did she ever see you again, and did that incident ever come up?
At that particular time, I was still doing actual what we call royal tours, and I forget where the tour was. Got a funny feeling it might have been in Jordan, and they used to travel the royal yacht. And at the beginning of the tour, they used to always invite the press to come and have a few bevies with them on the royal yacht in the ballroom. And this tour happened about 3 weeks after I did that picture, and I had to go on the royal yacht because you had no choice. And I got introduced to the Queen and the Duke, and the only thing I could do was look at my feet.
Yeah,
I couldn't bring myself to look her in the eye, and nor the Duke. And when that piece had been done, you all have to join a group, and she will come around and chat to the various groups of photographers. But I just made sure I just moved from group to group and never ever got involved. I was that frightened.
Yeah,
simple as that.
But it's a difficult balancing act, isn't it? Because I do the same. You end up writing stories or taking pictures of people or that they feel is negative, and then sometimes you've got to be at an occasion with them and do the good stuff as well. But it's a difficult balancing act for everyone.
Very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
You mentioned about the Duke of Edinburgh, obviously the late Duke of Edinburgh. One of the pictures I remember of yours in recent years was a picture of Prince Philip leaving hospital, and that was only a couple of days or a couple of weeks before he died.
It was about 3 or 4 days before he died. It was the last picture of him actually driving into Windsor Castle, where unfortunately he died. And again, I was very lucky. Our job is very much to do with being very lucky and also being in the right place at the right time. And you to a certain extent, make your own luck. And I was lucky that day. And it was the last picture as he drove in the gates at the back gate, and they call it, at Windsor Castle, they call it Town Gate. It was a gate that he drove into, and that was the last time he was seen alive.
Yeah. I mean, again, he would have seen you around for many years, and he would have seen you take pictures. Yeah. Did you ever get to, have any run-ins with Prince Philip?
I've had a few run-ins with the Duke, yeah. One that I remember was probably the most famous one was many years ago when he was fishing on a lock. Sure enough, the Duke had got his boat out of the boathouse, got his rod out, pushed the boat out, was fishing away, trout fishing on the lock. Right out of the blue, we were tucked in some bushes. Right out of the blue, we heard somebody shouting, "Oi! Oi, oi, you!" And obviously we thought it was a policeman who'd seen us. So we sort of started looking around, but actually it was a policeman. It was a Scottish policeman who had seen the Duke fishing on the locks and wanted to know what he was doing there. He then asked him, "Is that your Red Sierra outside?" And the Duke looked at him and didn't answer, just carried on fishing. "Oi, you," he said, "you in the boat? Is that your Red Sierra outside?" And sure enough, the Duke looked up at him and he said, "No, I'm driving the green Land Rover that's parked there," and can continue fishing. Obviously, the policeman done a PNC check on it very quickly, realised that he may be in trouble because it was the Duke's car, disappeared out, and that was the last we see of him. Apparently, he got sent to a new post somewhere.
You don't want to upset Prince Philip, do you?
No.
He had a very strong tongue if he didn't agree with you or if he didn't like you. So, what kind of guy was he? Do you think? Well, the Duke was.
I always found him okay. He didn't suffer fools gladly, a bit like he's thought like Princess Anne. But I've never had any massive run-ins, been face to face, unlike the Queen. But no, I've always found him fine.
Yeah, they're kind of different to the current generation, aren't they? The late Queen and Prince Philip in many ways. Yeah,
they were more acceptable to photographers. They accepted photographers a hell of a lot more, and there wasn't this. I don't know what the right word is, but the problem that we probably would have now with the royals now. So,
I kind of missed them. I kind of miss Philip and the late Queen.
Well, exactly, yeah.
I mean, I remember me and you working together a couple of years ago, just before the late Queen died, and we had, she was always out and about.
Absolutely,
we were out in the, driving around.
She still drove on the estate. She still drove a car, a Jaguar, on the estate. She stopped driving, obviously, on the roads when the Duke had the accident in Sandringham. So, but she still drove around the estate, and she went round and visited people that she wanted to visit. Just a one-off, and there will never be anybody else like her.
No, it's a big hole in, I think, the royal family's life and kind of the nation's, but we're very close to the second year anniversary, and I think in a couple of weeks' time, or next week on the show, we're probably going to be talking out a little bit further, but you have happy memories of the late Queen and the
Absolutely. Nothing other than just a lot. Well, as my dealings with her have been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Apart from when you called you a horror.
Well, yeah. And then I wish I could have just buried myself somewhere.
Obviously, in your times, though, we talk about 40 years, so from the early 80s, one of the most photographed, we talk about the late Queen being one of the most photographed women in the world, but one of the, superstars of the royal family was Princess Diana when she arrived on the scene. And I would imagine, I know that you would have taken lots of pictures or been around with the Princess Diana. One of the most famous pictures, one of the ones that really I remember, was at Thorpe Park when Princess Diana took William and Harry to Thorpe Park.
We saw all the royal cars parked at the entrance. So we bought tickets, went in and did pictures.
And these are the pictures, I think, on the log flume.
No, this is the first year we did it. And these were the pictures of them on smaller rides, and they were on the teacups going round, that sort of ride. And apparently the guy from Thorpe Park, because of the publicity they got from the pictures, were actually sold out over that Easter weekend. People couldn't get tickets to get in. For what reason, I don't know. The pictures on the log flume were taken the following year because the MOD, managing director at Thorpe Park, had such a hit and made so much money that he actually phoned us and told us what time they were going to go there. So that my colleague and I went. There was one other photographer there from a local agency, and that's when we did the pictures on the log flume.
Because Diana, she had her run-ins obviously with photographers. Did it ever feel intrusive or over the top with Diana? What was it like?
Never in the early days, but when things started going wrong with Charles, and she was going to Chelsea Harbour Club.
That was after they split up?
It was just after they split up. Chelsea Harbour Club, it became... it seemed to me that she was trying to get as much publicity against Charlie as she could. So when we went to Chelsea Harbour Club, she would always park the car at one end and walk all the way down the car park so she could be photographed. A lot of people probably won't agree with me, but my personal opinion is she used the children, the two boys, a hell of a lot during that time. I might be right, I might be wrong, but I know Prince Charles only ever used the boys once to have a publicity picture done, and that was up in Balmoral.
There's another famous picture you took of Harry with, you can tell the story, but did you see him taking pictures? You saw him with a gun outside the top of the car?
At Windsor, back in the days when equipment's not as good as it is today, we saw somebody riding on the Windsor estate. We were at an area on a public road or a public footpath, and we could see in the distance a car, and we could see what looked like something coming out the top. You couldn't see it. Once we'd done the pictures and pulled them up, it was a picture of Harry actually standing on the passenger seat with a gun, shooting rabbits, while, just trying to think, I don't know who was driving. I've got a very strong feeling it might have been Tiggy Legbull.
And these pictures made at the time, did they?
They did make at the time, yeah. Quite amazing, really.
Yeah. Was there any blowback for stuff like that? Did anyone ever phone up and complaining?
No. There was never any. Well, not at that time. Yeah.
What's the feeling like when you get a great picture, especially like that of Prince Harry, or you get something that nobody else has got as a raw photographer? What's the feeling like?
Well, there's no feeling like it. Yeah. It's if you're a footballer, it's like scoring a goal at Wembley. The elation is fantastic when you see the picture, and you in nowadays you see it on the screen, or you see it in print. It's just so powerful, which is one of the reasons why I'm still working at my age. So I enjoy it so much. I now do it because I enjoy doing it. It's very hard to describe, but yeah, it's a bit like if you get a hole in one at golf, or you score a goal at Wembley in football. It's just that it's the buzz that it gives you.
But it's not only you, or it hasn't been over the last 40 years. It hasn't always been you out looking for members of the royal family or working out where they're going to be to get these pictures. Sometimes, and I don't want to pull back the curtain and reveal what's happened historically all the time, but sometimes it's the other way round, right? Sometimes you will get the nod from someone connected to a member of the royal family. So it would be great if you were here at this specific time and took a picture. We
were all in Scotland. There were about 4 photographers. We were all having a evening meal with a few.
Was this Balmoral?
This is at Balmoral, yeah. And we used to always stay in the old kirk, which was a converted church, which was a hotel which used to accommodate most of us. And we were all enjoying our meal, and a protection officer walked in, and it was Charles's protection officer, and he said, "I'm sorry to bother you while you're eating your dinner," he said, "but is there any chance tomorrow that you might be around at X time at this particular place?" He said, "I suggest it might be a good idea that you be there." He said, "I won't say any more." And he said, "That's what I'm suggesting." And with that, he just turned around and walked out. So you can imagine the conversation. Is this bloke lying, or is it true? Or so we had to go. So there was 4 of us, and we stood on a hill overlooking the old Queen Mum's Lodge, right on the River Dee. And sure enough, at the prescribed time, a Range Rover pulled up. Charlie got out. The 2 boys got out, and they immediately started playing in the river.
And do you know why that happened? Why you were asked to come and take the pictures?
No idea. I've no idea. Absolutely none whatsoever. Whether it was a kickback, the way Diana had been using the boys a little bit as a tool. I shouldn't really say that, but that's what it appeared to me. Maybe Charlie was doing the same. I really don't know.
Interesting. I think you told me before that you were in Scotland with the Queen when she went to...
I did actually spend nearly 3 months a year in Scotland.
Did you?
On and off. So,
yeah, you were with the Queen, I think, during the time of the Scottish referendum.
Indeed I was, yeah.
Where obviously Scotland were asked to vote on independence.
Indeed.
And the Queen obviously has large property in Scotland, and she's, the Queen of Great Britain, of Scotland, of Wales. You were there at the time when the Queen made this comment. Famous comment where what happened there at the church?
It was a very funny situation. When you go to Scotland, and the Queen used to go to Craffy Church, all photographers weren't allowed to go and do pictures at what we say at the top of the hill outside the church. You had to stand down the bottom, and you had to do car pictures. That's why any pictures you see at Craffy are always car pictures.
When we say car pictures, car goes past, you just see them.
And as they drive past, you do a picture, if you're lucky, through the window.
Yeah.
And there was 2 of us there this day. A very good friend of mine, Donald Stewart, God rest him, he's passed away now. We were standing there. We'd done the Queen go in, as usual. And then we decided, well, we're going to get a cup of coffee somewhere. We won't put the pictures in until they come out, and then we'll go and do them. So we were standing there just chatting, should we go and get a cup of coffee? When somebody came down, he was a Scottish police officer, plainclothes, and he said, I've been sent down to take you 2 to the top of the hill to do a picture of the Queen because she's going to do a walkabout. And I said to him, the Queen never does walkabouts at church service. She comes out the church, she gets in the car, she waves at the crowd, and that's it, she's gone. He said, today's a different day. She's going to do a walkabout, and she wants the photographers to record it. And I looked at my friend, and he looked at me, and he said, this ain't right. There's something wrong. Anyway, we went, and sure enough, church service then, the Queen come out, and then for some unknown reason, she walked past the car, walked over to the crowd, a beeline. She knew exactly where she was going, talked to somebody in the crowd. Then somebody told the reporter that she'd asked a group of people, can't remember the exact words, but she said something like, be careful to what you wish for.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. And we thought, when the reporter found this out, he was told, he went to try and find the people. These people had disappeared. She couldn't find them. We couldn't find them. They just disappeared. We think it was something that she wanted to do. She wanted to make sure she got as much publicity. I've never known it before.
This is a comment where I don't have it in my notes, unfortunately, but this is a comment that the Queen made where I think she made worldwide news where she had told people to be careful what you do. I think
yeah, be careful what you wish for, something along those lines.
There are times when photographers can be used to send a message out.
Absolutely.
Reporters can be used to send a message out. So stuff like that. What about Prince Andrew?
I was the first one ever to photograph him playing golf. And that was in Scotland, at Ballata Golf Course. And he was nothing other than very good to us. A colleague and I, we were photographing him from the footpath behind the bushes, as we normally do. And he's sent his protection officer over. Please, will you get the people out the bushes, but tell them to come and walk with me. And they can do as many pictures as they like in the ordinary way you would expect if you were on a golf course. And, it's the same. We walked round with him for about 10 holes. In the end, we got fed up with taking pictures, quite honestly. We had to make our excuses and leave and meet him back at the 18th when he finished and shook hands with the club captain. But, I've always found him fine. People have said he's very arrogant. Obviously, he must be, because some of the silly things that he's done. But on the day that the story broke about the problems that he had with Epstein and co, him and Fergie, we were at Royal Lodge, and him and Fergie actually sent somebody down with loads of flasks of coffee, loads of biscuits for the press that were standing outside. So it's not all that bad.
He didn't stop taking pictures though, did he?
No. And we've done loads of pictures of him out riding. He never complains. He never complains about any pictures that he's had done. I've never had one complaint from Prince Andrew at all. All the pictures that I've done in the last probably 4 or 5 years.
One of the questions that I think people will, I think one of the questions that everybody will always ask you is, obviously you sell the pictures. So what has been the most expensive picture that you've sold, or what picture have you made the most money of over?
Probably 2 pictures.
Yeah.
The picture of Charles and Camilla together. The main picture you always see is a picture of them signing it by a tree.
Oh yeah.
That's not mine.
Yeah.
I did the picture of them at Burke Hall, where it was a funny old story, really, because I was actually in a position where I could see the front door of Burke Hall, and I saw Parker Bowles and Camilla turn up.
You mean Andrew Parker Bowles,
Andrew Parker
husband at the time?
and Camilla turn up in a car, right from the airport, chauffeur driven. I see them get out of the car. They went into Burke Hall. Literally 10 minutes later, Charles's Range Rover pulled up outside. Out came Camilla. Out came Prince Charles. Picnic hampers, blankets were all put in the back of this Range Rover. She got in the front seat. Charles got in the driving seat on their own and disappeared. And I thought, that ain't right. That's a bit odd. You know what I mean? Her husband's in there somewhere. And literally within half an hour, another Range Rover pulled up with fishing rods on the top, a ghillie driving. Out come Andrew Parker Bowles, got in the front seat, and off they went fishing.
Sorry, Andrew went off without.
Oh yeah,
Camilla.
Yeah.
Charles went off somewhere. I mean, you could write your own story about that.
Absolutely.
What was the story then? That must have been in all the papers.
Well, again, it was a start of. I think it was the start of the rot where it actually became known that they were an item, and to a certain extent, that's how it was written.
Yeah.
Because in them days, as I say, it's not like today.
Well, let's talk a bit about today, because we've got some of the younger royals. Well, not the younger royals anymore, but there's the younger royals get older, like the current Princess of Wales.
Yeah.
Kate, obviously, she hasn't been seen very often recently because of her cancer struggle. She's done a couple of videos. She's appeared at Trooping the Colour, but I do remember that you did get quite a famous picture of the Princess of Wales recently. Could you talk us through?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, we were actually. My colleague Kelvin and I were sent down to Windsor purely to get an early picture of William going to Westminster Abbey. And the online wanted pictures early. So we went down there and we tried to get a picture, and we were we were struggling a little bit, to be fair, because the outriders wasn't where we expected them to be, and there was a lot of confusion. But as we were driving back to check out something again, literally we see an outrider pull up at a road at Datchet. Fortunately, Kelvin was driving. I was in the passenger seat. I jumped out the car, literally as this car come round the corner, and I'd done pictures. And we thought, he said, "Have you got William?" And I said, "Yeah, great, William, got William, fine." So we disappear off to the cafe, which is our want, to sit down, and we start looking at the pictures. And then Kelvin says, "Hold on, there's somebody sitting next to him." So we lighten the picture a little bit in Photoshop, don't affect it, just lighten it. And sure enough, he said, I'm pretty sure it's her. And I went, "Can't be." So we then alert the office to let them know that she may be going to Westminster Abbey, because nobody knew to the extent of how ill she was. And I think we sent a picture to you to confirm it.
You did, and I think the agreement was with the palace was, well, she was with Prince William on an official, William was going to an official event, so those pictures were able to be used. But there was a lot of conspiracy theories about
Absolutely,
that, wasn't there? I think there was some internet sleuths went online, and I think they tried to work out it wasn't actually taken where it was meant to have taken and stuff like that. What do you think about people accusing you of stuff?
It was quite funny, because I'd never been on that end of it before. It was quite funny. I kept getting emails from these people saying, "You're a fraud, you're a cheat, you photoshopped her into the picture, we've worked out the bricks in the wall," and so on and so forth. And one particular person was very persistent. It wasn't made me life a misery, because don't affect me. But I sent him back an email. I said, "Look, thank you very much for all your interest in this, but will you please keep it going? Because the more you're keeping it going, the more the picture's selling. And it's doing rather well at the moment." And fortunately, I never heard any more from the bloke, so that was it.
Do you ever feel bad to the royals? Do you ever feel that you're too intrusive, or that you've done something that you shouldn't have done, or anything like that, or overall?
No. In the early days, as I said right at the very beginning, I have a certain amount of feeling, and if I don't like it, I feel uncomfortable, then I don't do it.
Right.
It's as simple as that. In this day now, it doesn't make any difference, because you can't do it. You don't even have that choice.
The rules have massively changed.
Absolutely massively changed.
What's it like now compared to, say, the 80s or the 90s then?
Well, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
It's moved, as far as I can see, from newspapers and the internet and online. It's moved away from the royals now, and it's more reality people, celebrities, but more reality people that get the coverage that the royals got 40 years ago.
All right. Jim, what an amazing career. All right. Not over yet. You're still going on. Now, we've got time for some quickfire questions.
Okay,
if you don't mind. All right. So
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, this is hopefully the fun bit of it. All right. So let's see how we get on. Right. Who is, or was, could be dead or alive, your favourite royal to photograph, and why?
Queen Mother, always, because regardless of how good or bad you were, she always gave you a good picture. This day and age, probably Camilla, who always gives you a picture.
In what way does she give people a good picture?
She always looks to see where you are,
right, and
she will smile, and she will look at the camera. It's fantastic.
It is true, because I know there was an old mantra from the late Queen where it said, do not look down the barrel of the lens. But the current Queen, Camilla, she does. She will stand there and allow you taking pictures of things. So important. Okay. Who is your least favourite royal to photograph, and why?
I can't think I've got one, really. I'll be very honest.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got one. I mean, no. No.
No, you don't have to have a least favourite one. That's fine, don't worry. Which royal would you most like to have a beer with down the pub?
Prince Andrew.
Really?
Yeah, I'd like
Why?
I'd like to sort of read him his fortune a little bit and give him a few pointers, because he's sadly lacking in a little bit of guidance, I'm afraid.
What would you tell him?
Well, I'd like to tell him his mistakes, but there again, that's easy, isn't it? They've happened now. But no, I'd just like to say to him, Christ's sake, mate, it's not your fault that they've taken away your job, and now they're complaining you can't pay for this and you can't pay for that. Not your fault they've taken it away. You were a idiot for doing what you did, and you was a bigger fool to go back out to America and see Epstein a second time if you hadn't have gone out there and just phoned him up and said, look, mate, we were good friends, but I'm going to give you the old Spanish and you're going. That would have been good. But I just feel he needs a bit of guidance, the boy.
Well, maybe he watches the show and
Maybe
he can come out the gates at Royal Lodge and say, Jim, come in here. Let's have a beer and you can tell me where I've gone wrong. Which member of the royal family would make the best pap?
Got to be Kate, isn't it? She uses a camera very well. If she goes a little bit over the top with the photoshopping, but no, she can handle a camera.
Yeah, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
So what surprises people about your time with the royals when you tell them, like friends? If you're telling your friends about your job,
I suppose not my friends, but most people, think you're the scum. But I always say, yeah, but I'm the cream of the scum. That's what I always say. And that's an old saying come from the very famous reporter, Harry Arnold.
yeah, okay.
And that's what he used to say.
Well, I don't think you're scum. I don't think people don't think you're scum. Is there a royal that has ever taken you by surprise, and why?
Princess Anne, I should say. And when I was doing a book with Angela Rippon on Mark Phillips, and we stayed at Gatcombe for 3 days doing at-home pictures with Anne and Mark Phillips, and she invited us to go and have a bit of breakfast with her before we went out and done the pictures. And surprise, surprise, she was cooking the breakfast. It was lovely.
Princess Anne made you breakfast?
Indeed. Well, she made me toast.
Toast?
I had to put the butter on myself.
She's never invited you back, has she?
No, she's never invited me back. No. I was quite friendly with her at the time I was doing the book, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks, Jim. It's been a pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.
Some great stories and many more years of hope. Some wonderful pictures.
Yeah, it'd be very nice too. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks. Right. Well, thanks for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you're always in the know about our latest episodes.